Hello everyone, my name is Sevdenur. I'm one of the authors of the paper Election Verifiability Revisited, Automated Security Proofs and Attacks on Helios and Belenios. Electronic voting replaces paper ballots, voting booths, ballot boxes in traditional voting with electronic ballots, voting platforms and voting servers. While many components in voting become electronic, we have the adversary having much more corruption abilities than the one in traditional voting. So we look for a security property in electronic voting protocols, which is verifiability. This property states that a system should be verifiable by voters to ensure that their vote is counted in the final tally, and the system should be verifiable by anybody to ensure that the final outcome reflects the intention of eligible voters. Any system satisfying both is called end-to-end verifiable. Our focus in this paper is the formal verification of election verifiability. Related work on this topic are the following. Our work is based on the third paper by Courtier et al., and we propose an extension of their model to make it more general and to cover new features desired in practice. This table shows the comparison of Courtier et al. Model and our model. Both models allow automated verification and both are sound. However, Courtier et al. Model doesn't cover general protocols and corruption scenarios since it has two different models for corrupted server and also for corrupted register. Their model doesn't cover revoting and clash attacks. Clash attacks are the verifiability attacks which affects the result of the election. Also, their model doesn't cover dynamic corruption of voters. In our model, we cover all these features, except that both models do not cover quantum-resistant protocols. In our paper, we apply our model to various corruption scenarios and verification procedures in Helios and Belenios, and we discover new attacks. We use automated verification tool Tamarin. Tamarin is based on mod set rewriting rules. A rule consumes a set of facts as premise to generate a set of facts as conclusion, and all the actions are recorded by action facts. To verify protocols in Tamarin, we need to specify the protocol by the set of rules, which is denoted by S, and we need to specify the desired property as a formula phi. Then the verification of phi by S is denoted by this. We use action facts to record events in voting protocols. VBREC records eligible public credentials CR. Vote records the vote V cast by the voter ID with CR. If the voter verifies the vote V, then this is captured by verified ID CRV. BB tally represents the ballot B is tallied for the credential CR. The corrupted voter is captured by core ID CR. Using these events, we define end-to-end election verifiability as a conjunction of properties. The first property is individual verifiability, which states that individual verification implies the corresponding vote is tallied. Second, eligibility represents ballots corresponds to eligible credentials. No clash property states individual verification by distinct voters implies distinct public credentials. And result property says that tallied ballots for honest voters cannot come from the adversary. We regard two options for honest voters. In the first one, honest voters are considered not corrupted. In the second one, additionally, they are considered that verify their ballots. The symbolic definitions of our properties are defined in this slide. However, I will focus only on the first one, individual verifiability. If a ballot B is tallied according to a revoting policy defined by omega, is verified by the voter ID, then the corresponding vote V should be a part of the tally, should be a part of the results. Until now, we defined the properties. Now we need to specify the protocol. An e-voting protocol specification S is a tuple of P. P is a voting protocol procedures. V, the individual verification procedures. And A, the corruption abilities of adversary. Then the specification satisfies election verifiability if and only if the specification satisfies the conjunction of properties for end-to-end verifiability. In our paper, we use two different electronic voting protocols, Helios and Belenios. This figure shows roughly the phases of Helios. In Helios, register is a part of server registering voters with their credentials CR. In setup phase, re-voting is allowed. A ballot is generated using voting platform and cast using ID password login to server. Then server publish the ballot on the bulletin board, which is verified by the voter. In the tally phase, only the last ballot is tallied and will be a part of the outcome. The main limitation of Helios is that corrupted server can stuff ballots. To prevent it, Helios built upon on Helios with additional signature mechanism. In Belenios, register is a separate party generating a signature key pair for each eligible voter. In this way, trust is distributed between register and voting server. This figure shows the phases of Belenios and the differences are highlighted by orange color. In the setup phase, each voter receives a signature key pair from register and a password from server. Ballot structure is different since it has also signature and zero knowledge proof. Here, server doesn't know the association between IDs and credentials, so when it receives the ballot for the first time, it records an information, log information, by matching a voter with a credential. Then it accepts the latter ballots if the log information is consistent with the first one. Verification procedure is the same and the last ballot is tallied. We consider these individual verifications and corruption scenarios. V1 is the standard procedures, which is the verification last ballot anytime during the election, which is used in Helios and Belenios. And V3 is the procedure considered in the literature, which is the verification of last ballot in tally phase. And we consider each corruption scenario according to the corrupted parties, A2 with corrupted server, A3 with corrupted register. These are the verification results that we obtained by Tamarin on Helios and Belenios. Here, each check mark represents security proof for end-to-end verifiability, and a cross mark represents an attack against verifiability. We have security proof for the case when there is a corrupted server and corrupted register, and when the verification is done in the tally phase. We want to present one attack from Helios. Clash attacks are known against Helios, which are proposed by Küster et al. Clash attack is mounted by clash on public credentials when the server and the voting platforms are corrupted. We show that it is not necessary to corrupt voting platforms. If re-voting is allowed and voters verify their ballot anytime, we capture this attack by a clash property. This figure shows the attack. There is a corrupted register, which registers two voters with the same credential and it as adversarial credential to the bulletin board. First voters cast a ballot, then verifies it, and then the second voter casts a ballot and verifies it. And since they have the same credential, one of them will be tallied, even though the first ballot is also verified by the first voter. And also, adversary here casts an adversarial ballot, which affects the result of the election. And now I want to give an attack on Helios, which is an attack on individual verifiability with corrupted register. Belenios should be secure against ballot stuffing with corrupted register since the voting server verifies passwords and checks the consistency on the logs. However, we find attacks, and I want to present here the attack on individual verifiability. This figure shows the attack. Corrupted register receives all the credential signature pairs from the adversary. And when the first voter casts a ballot, which is blocked by the adversary and cast by using the credential of a corrupted voter. Then the server records a log information by matching an identity of corrupted voter with a credential of another voter. Then, since the voter sees on the bulletin board the ballot, the voter will verify it. However, then after a while, the corrupted voter will cast another ballot, and this will be tallied. As conclusion, our work attends the gap between practice and theory, and it shows that in practice, we still need to make some improvements in order to obtain desired formally proved security properties. Thank you for listening.